Hello there and welcome. As always, before the video starts, I want to say words of appreciation to those who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks. Thank you friends so much, and I hope you have a blessed day. Now, today's video I will start with Vuhledar frontline, where Russian offensive continues without stop. Here, Russian attack from the recently captured Vodyane in the direction of Bogoyavlenka, as well as to the flank and rear of Ukrainian formations defending the city of Vuhledar. They've also started attacking from the town of Pavlivka, as well as across this river northeast of the village of Richistivka. First, let's discuss the situation that is currently ongoing within Vuhledar itself. As a result of successful storming actions, Russians captured this very small portion of Pavlivka, marking the start of their offensive operations from this town also. Here they acquired control over the portion of 00532 road, which will allow them to attack towards Vuhledar directly. Russians also advanced significantly northeast of Vuhledar, acquiring this big portion of the front line and successfully entering this dacha area. Recent news coming in from this front line suggests that Russians already cleaned this entire area, this entire dacha area, and if that is to be the case, Russian gains within the last 24 hours or so look something like this. Russians also made some advances to the south of Vodyane, attacking across the open fields in support of the offensive that is happening across the entire front line. And as a result of fighting within the last 24 hours, those were the territories that came under Russian control. Russians also made some advances northeast of Prichistivka, continuously developing their successful offensive here in this area, which as you know started few days ago, advancing in the general direction of Novoukrainka, Bogoyavlenka, and in the obvious pincer maneuver towards the city of Vuhledar. And it seems that the encirclement of Ukrainian formations here in this area, from theoretical, became reality. Nevertheless, those were the territories that Russians acquired within the last 24 hours. As you can see, securing a big portion of the front line. Very interesting video came from this particular portion of the front line, where Russian BTR, seemingly without any resistance, just drove up to Ukrainian positions, landed out troops, and left unchallenged. This suggests that Ukrainians started a withdrawal towards Novoukrainka, leaving those positions to the Russians. Fresh reports are also coming in that due to the fact that Vuhledar is now officially in operational encirclement, with all the roads that lead to it under direct Russian fire control, Ukrainians are slowly pulling out their troops from the city, but not in mass, because the bottleneck had become significantly tighter, and withdrawal of all troops from Vuhledar would be proven disastrous for Ukraine. So in conclusion, it seems that the Battle of Vuhledar is about to be over, with this famous city fortress captured without a fight. As you can see, this is becoming somewhat of a notion and a new Russian strategy. To me, it seems that ever since Bakhmut and Avdiivka, they gave up on the idea of storming towns directly and instead attack to the flank and rear in attempt to encircle and force Ukrainians to retreat. And it seems it is working as of right now. All the territorial changes that I've just discussed was also confirmed by pro-Ukrainian sources. For example, here was the situation of yesterday, and here is the situation of today, with those territories coming in under Russian control. So as you can see, even Ukrainian sources that are usually slow to confirm Russian advances confirm this rather quickly. This in turn proves that the situation here is very critical for Ukrainian forces. From Vuhledar frontline, let's move towards Kurakhove direction, or to be more specific, situation that is currently developing around the town of Ukrainsk. Here, Russians successfully secured the Terekon to the north of Tsukorina, as well as successfully advanced to the south of Ukrainsk, with these territories coming in under Russian control. Having this Terekon will allow Russians to control this entire area and support advancing Russians in the direction of Tsukorina. In fact, with this Russian advance, Russians are now not only gain ability to attack towards Tsukorina directly, but also to attack towards this mine complex simultaneously. So in conclusion, when talking about this front line, village of Tsukorina is next logical target for the Russians, and yet again, they are seemingly trying to surround it. From here, let's continue to the north and visit Toretsk frontline, where Russian offensive continues as well. As a result of successful storming actions, Russians at last secured this Terekon, which for some time served Ukrainians as a stronghold. With its fall, Russians can start fighting for the control over this forest, squeezing Ukrainians out of it into the city itself as they crush on their flanks from both north and south. So situation for the Ukrainian formations in this district becomes more desperate as days go by. Then let's go slightly to the south and discuss recent Russian advances within the village of Leonidovka. Yesterday, Russians successfully attacked along this road in the direction of this village, and as a result established a bridgehead in its outskirts that put Ukrainian formations in Nilipovka into a obvious semi-encirclement. And although for the past 24 hours they actively counterattacked in an attempt to get rid of this Russian bridgehead, those attacks were seemingly unsuccessful. In fact, it is Russians that are now counterattacking from this district to the flank and rear of Ukrainian formations in Nilipovka, and as a result, news of Ukrainians withdrawing from this village started surfacing more and more. Solidifying the front line will allow Russians to concentrate their attacks within this district, Sherbinovka and Petrivka, as well as in the direction of these two massive terracons. So in conclusion, Toretsk left flank is about to collapse in its entirety. From here, let's continue our journey to the north, where interesting Ukrainian development had happened. Within the last 24 hours, Ukrainians launched an attack towards Russian positions that are located in between village of Zalisne and E40 highway. Now, at this point in time, it is hard to judge whether this is the sign of something to come, or Ukrainians were able to advance slightly within the gray zone, because as far as I know, Russians don't have much positions in this area, with most of them concentrated in this small forest and around the village of Zalisne. So I guess only time will tell what exactly would come out of this. And then from here, let's continue towards Lyman frontline, where Russian forces were able to successfully secure the village of Nevsky. After about 2 days of fighting, the capture of this village was part of a much bigger plan, which Russians are currently executing on this portion of the front line. First, they captured most of Makiivka, now they secured Nevsky, and because of that, big chunk of territory that was previously occupied by Ukrainian formations became isolated, and as a result, Ukrainians withdrew, leaving it all to the Russians. And this massive chunk of front line successfully came in under Russian control. At this point in time, Ukrainians are unable to stop the Russians, as they are not only attempting to cross the Zherebets River and establish bridgeheads on multiple portions of the front line, but are also threatening the flank of Lyman front line by attacking towards Novosadova and eventually Terny. This recent Russian development can move the entire Lyman front line from a standstill in which it remained for a quite some time, as Ukrainians fought here hard and were able to successfully push Russians couple of times. Now, with their northern flank actively collapsing, the entire situation can change significantly. Now from here, let's move all the way to Kupyansk frontline and discuss recent Russian developments southwest of Pishani, where as a result of successful offensive actions in the direction of Kruglякivka, this portion of the frontline came in under Russian control. As you can see here, Russians are clearing force lines after force lines, securing fields after fields, inching closer and closer to Kruglivka, Kolesnikivka, Glushkivka, and Zagrizove. So here too, Russian offensive is ongoing without stop, and as of right now, Ukrainians are unable to do anything about it. With this I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. If it was, you know what to do. I always appreciate your help and support. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.